Hey everyone, I'm back, and if there's one thing I'm good at, aside from making kick-ass videos, it's writing. I love to write, love to create, love to tell stories, to entertain others and myself. But most of all, I love to see the end result, to look upon my finished work and satisfy that little grin and say, I made that. Still, I find that most fanfiction writers don't put 2 seconds into their story, or more or less, they don't know what the hell they're doing at all. In less sophisticated words, they create some of the shittiest garbage that could possibly be created out of the god-awful sea of writing vomited man out of the first few millennia's worth on it. This is my little handy-dandy guide to writing fan fiction, because if you have the dream of creating an awesome piece of work, then you better check these videos out. Alright, but first off, before we begin, let us define what fanfiction is, alright? Dictionary.com describes fanfiction as such, and I quote, a fictional account written by a fan of a show, movie, book, or video game to explore themes and ideas that will not or cannot be explored via the originating medium. Which is of course true, but I'd like to take that definition a little bit further and say that fan fiction is a chance for the writer to tell his or her own story through an outlet, say Sly Cooper. Alright, now that we know what fanfiction is, let's move on. Now, there's a few different types of fanfiction out there. Come on. God damn it. Alright, there's a few different types of fanfiction out there, alright, that you should really know about before you start writing. There are one-shots, poems, songfics, and full stories. First off, one-shots are usually, just as the name implies, comprised of one chapter, but may break up into 2 or 3 smaller chapters. They're usually meant to focus on the main point of a movie, book, or video game, or they may be used to tell just a quick what-if story. Now, poems are small pieces, not necessarily always rhyming, but are used to convey emotion and how a certain character may or may not have been feeling during a certain chapter or scene. If you're just starting out, one-shots and poems just may very well be the best way to go, primarily because they offer you a sense of stricter and stability by confining you to a specific timeline or period where you can write about the characters and view them in any way you see fit. It also gives you a chance to tell your own story through the story, the already written story. That's awfully redundant, I apologize. However, this can also be its greatest weakness, because it's confined to such a small space that then it leaves very little room for you to branch out and tell your own story in addition to the one that's already been written. But if you're just starting out, maybe you wouldn't find this is such a problem. Maybe it's just all you need. Personally, I've never written a poem, but I have written plenty of one-shots. Haven't actually put them on fanfiction.net yet, though, but I want to. I just have to get off my lazy ass and do it. Now, then, of course, there's full stories. And if you're going for a more serious route, then full stories are the way to go. They're just as they sound. They're longer, more detailed fan fictions that can reach any number of chapters so long as the story is told correctly at the end. Here, sky's the limit. You can create scenarios, make up characters, create good plot lines, and just go at it until you reach the end. Full stories are the pinnacle of the fanfiction universe, and it's these which my tutorial will cover in full detail. Alright. The other kind of stories are called songfics. and most everyone's read them once in a while. Most everyone has read them at one point or another, or maybe even written one. Songfics are basically one-shots, although they can be turned into full stories, and it incorporates the lyrics of a song into its work, basically to try to convey the emotion of what the piece is saying. I gotta tell ya, I read a lot of songfics, and besides the ones that has the characters saying the lyrics of the song word for word, even though that they're already written above, songfic, I have to say they're almost always brilliant. Songfics are some of the greatest pieces of work out there. Only problem, fanfiction.net did not approve of them, for obvious. If you want to post them there for obvious legal reasons. And because of this, they're mostly considered taboo and banned on the site for all intents and purposes. Alright. Despite this, people seem to write them anyway. There's songfics on every other subject. And maybe I just haven't been observant enough, but so far, it doesn't really seem to be much of a problem. I believe as long as you credit the artist of the song in your writing, you should be okay for there. Hopefully. Okay, now that's taken care of, let's begin with writing in general. Alright, now the first step for actually writing the fanfiction is pretty simple, yet the hardest one of them all, it seems. Learn how to write. You cannot believe how many crappy fanfictions I've read where the worst problem, the single biggest problem, is that the writer can't write a decent sentence for their lives. Look, I wasn't born a decent writer. It took me years to discover the right way, different techniques and writing skills, etc. This is why I'm here, coming to you to show them to you, but this won't make any difference unless you take them to heart. I can talk about it all I want, but unless you listen, it won't matter, okay? So, here it goes. First off, describe everything. This is a problem everyone has, even me. Although I'd like to think I've gotten better over the years. I know we know what a certain character looks like if we're writing a fanfiction about them, alright? But by describing them, you bring them to life. Take the extra mile and say that Goku has spiky yellow blondish hair with a red t-shirt on, black shoes, and saying he's just Goku, you know. Not to mention, if someone's never heard of the anime, etc., that you want to be about, then it could be tough for them, because yes, I've heard of people who's never heard of Dragon Ball Z, alright? Thank you very much. Describe how they're feeling, what they're doing, what their environment's like, and whatnot. And don't compare what you're writing to other things in media, okay? Like, don't say he fell over anime style with a huge sweat drop. That's just stupid. Say he fell over backwards out of shock, or his brow was sweaty, alright? You have to find the balance between too much description or not enough, but without description, nobody's gonna care what happens. Alright, next, write believable dialogue. Dialogue is everything in most video games, in every anime and book and TV show, and in every modern day movie. First off though, I want you to watch one episode of the Deke Sailor Moon dub. Then watch any given 20 minutes of The Godfather. That should speak for itself. Next, avoid using gratuitous Japanese. I can't believe how often somebody does something this stupid. Look, it rarely happens with anything like European languages or anything like that, but it seems only seems cruel to write your fanfictions in Japanese. Look, all you're doing by writing your sentences in unnecessary Japanese is making yourself look like a moron. I mean, how distracting is it when you read a sentence that reads as follows: Hi, Ramakun is a baka. I mean, if I read that, I know I'd have to stop to remember what hi means. It kills the flow. And thus kills the fanfiction. And it's even worse when someone writes the outside of their dialogue into the description of the story, then it's like God in heaven help me there. I mean, that back button's there for a reason for fan fictions like that. Alright, and finally, show, don't tell. Alright, actions speak louder than words. Don't tell us what a character is doing. Show us him or her doing it, alright? If I said, alright, I mean, it's like, if I said that Naruto was beating Sasuke up during the Sasuke retrieval arc, you'd have very little emotional response. However, if you saw how it was going through the whole fight, and you see Naruto doing it, then you'd be yelling at the TV like I was. You idiot! He betrayed your village and hurt feelings of your true love. Beat him down, kick his ass. Don't let him live. Forgot to say anything. Next. Now, compare these two sentences. Lucy was a slob. Okay. Lucy's room was littered with particles of unfolded clothing thrown sloppily all over the floor. Which sentence inspired you more? That should speak for itself. So, alright. So, now that you know how to write, surely it's time to start writing fanfiction, right? Oh no, not yet. Now it's time for you to figure out a particular series to write the fanfiction about. Alright, now chances are, if you're writing fanfiction, then you probably have a particular series in mind before you even do anything else. But you have to truly understand what you're doing here. You have to understand the world they're living in. Understand what big events might happen there and how it might affect them in their, like, wars, uprisings, natural disasters, things like that. Right? If you're doing a crossover fanfiction, then you have to understand the universe that both series lives in. Alright, now let's take Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, a popular crossover pairing. Now it's completely obvious that Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon don't take place in anywhere in the same universe, right? Sailor Moon obviously takes place in the modern era when Dragon Ball Z takes place in God knows when. Look. However, trying to put the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya in the same universe as, say, Fushigi Yugi would make sense. Kion claims that nothing special ever happens until he meets Haruhi. Yet in Fushigi Yugi, it's apparent that giant serpents are flying all over the cities. If that's normal, I don't know anything anymore, alright?